Hello, and welcome to Informatically Speaking, a Greater Delaware Valley ANIA podcast designed to promote knowledge sharing in the field of nursing informatics, locally, nationally, and globally within our unique industry. At GDV ANIA, we are committed to providing opportunities for professional development with the goal of advancing nursing informatics practice. I'm your host, Constance McLaughlin. All right. Welcome back, everyone, to podcast number 4 and Influencing Behaviors with Bruce Wilson. Welcome back, Bruce.
Thank you, Constance. Glad to be here.
This is excellent. I'm so excited to talk about finding vital behaviors because I think we talked about this in the very first podcast. We talked through kind of an overview, and that behavior part it was not clicking for me. It just was not clicking. But so last time in podcast 3, we talked about using the SMART tool to help define clarified measurable results. And we went into great detail and gave lots of great examples on that. So now the next step really is finding vital behaviors. So let's jump in.
Excellent. Let's do that. Thank you, Constance. And just a reminder for those listening, we are covering the influencer content by Crucial Learning. They have their full course, and they also online and in person. And of course, you can find all of their content at cruciallearning.com. So let's dive into vital behaviors. And I'm gonna sound a little bit like a broken record, but just to remind the listeners, there are 3 things that influencers do and do well. Number 1, they define clarified measurable results. Number 2, which we're going to talk about today, they identify vital behaviors. And number 3, they identify the sources of influence to influence that behavior to achieve the result. So what is a vital behavior? A lot of people might want to know what that is. And so we're going to talk about that. And Constance, I want you to remind everybody that's listening, what exactly is your specific influencer challenge that you're learning to apply these tools toward?
Yes, absolutely. So my challenge is that my son does not clean up after himself after eating. He tends to leave dishes anywhere or puts them in the sink right next to the dishwasher. So my challenge is to influence my son's behavior to pick up after himself and put his dishes in the dishwasher.
All right.
That's my goal.
And Constance, what have you tried so far to get him to do that?
Well, as you can imagine, many things that a parent would try, little guilt factor, a little, hairy eyeball, which works, but I have to do it every time. It's that he will pick up and put things in the sink, but assume that others are going to finish the job. But yeah, so mostly guilt and a stare or hairy eyeball, as I call it, to get him to move.
All right, so you're nudging him along a little bit.
Us, he wants to please us, but of course he's lazy too. He's 16.
So when you ask him to do it, does he do it?
He does. He says, "Oh, right. I should do that. I should put my dishes in there." Like, yeah.
Okay. And anything else you've enacted? Any kind of rewards or any other kind of strategies that you've discussed with him other than just saying, "Hey, you need to put that in there," or giving him the eye roll?
Not really any rewards, because it's just part of being a good roommate is to pick up after yourself. So I don't reward that kind of behavior. Maybe I should. I don't know. But that's why we're here. You're going to tell me all about it. Tell me how I can do this with him.
Sure, sure. Um, well, one of the things I like to teach to folks is that when we think about vital behavior, and to go ahead and take an opportunity to define that, a vital behavior is a set of key behaviors that, if enacted, will lead to the desired result or outcome that you want. And so in your case, we talked about it last time and we identified what we thought the vital behavior would be for your son. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that here today. We're going to revisit that. But most of the time when I ask that question to folks that have a challenge they're working on, they'll share with me, oh, well, I've got this strategy, or here, this is our policy we put in place, or we have this goal that we set for people, or here's the value that I'm trying to embark upon them. And to use your words a little bit, like being a good roommate, and this is what they want to do. And um, and that's the interesting thing. Influencers really don't start there. And so, have you ever heard of, like, at work? And I think I talked a little bit about this last time, but have you ever been at or work or any kind of social setting where there's other humans involved, and you've heard somebody say, "Hey, be accountable for this. I want you to be accountable." And if we were in person, I would have some fun right now, and I would say, "Hey, Constance, I need you to stand up and show me accountability." And that's a precarious axiom, which means you can't really do it. And that's because what's accountable in your mind is different than what's accountable in my mind.
Right.
And so influencers don't start there. They don't start with strategies or policies or processes or labels and characteristics or vague values. They, be proactive. We hear that a lot in the work environment. They actually start with behavior. And so how we know, this is the first tool that I want to teach everybody, how we know if we're dealing with a behavior, which is the first thing we have to classify when talking about vital behaviors, is the thing I want really a behavior? And the tool you use is show me, and then I say blank or X, right? Fill in the blank. So if I said, show me accountability, you couldn't do it. If I said, show me proactive, you couldn't do it. But if I said, be on time to the meeting, you could see that. Or if I say, raise your hand if you want to fill in the blank, those are behavioral based things. And so the influencer will start to think about, okay, I've got my clarified measurable result. I know I need to get a behavior. Is this a behavior? Oh, I'm going to use my tool. Just like I used the SMART goal tool, I'm going to use the show me, fill in the blank. And if that is a true statement, then I know I have a behavior. So once I have a behavior, then I need to go to the next thing. Any idea what that might be?
Once I have the behavior, the next would be, I don't know.
Well, the answer lies in the very label. Is it a vital behavior? So not all behaviors are vital behaviors. And one of the biggest hurdles or stumps that I see people get stopped on is, oh, I've got a behavior, and they haven't really vetted if it's a vital behavior. And vital behaviors, remember, are one or two or a few behaviors that, if routinely enacted, will get the result that you've identified, right? The clarified measurable result.
Okay.
And so we want to first validate, do we have a behavior? And then secondly, is it vital? If I enact this behavior that I've said over and over, will it get me the result that I have said that I want to achieve? And if the answer is no, that's fine. Just keep looking for the vital behavior, because again, not all behaviors are vital. So one might say, gosh, that sounds good in concept, but kind of what tool do I find the vital behavior? How do I know? And that this is one of my favorite, in fact, it is my favorite way to identify or find vital behaviors. And that's first by identifying crucial moments. And so what I want you to think about is a T chart. So everybody that's listening, if you're listening, go ahead and do me a favor and take time, get a piece of paper out, as long as you're not driving, or maybe if you're walking, you can do this. But if you're listening at your desk, and I want you to draw a simple T chart. And on the top left of the T chart, I want you to write the word when, WHEN. And then underneath that, I want you to write crucial moment. And on the
Okay.
right-hand side of the T chart, I want you to write what. And underneath that, I want you to write vital behavior. So we can identify the vital behaviors by first trying to identify the crucial moment. And a crucial moment can be circumstances, time, people, places, or emotions. So if you think about the example that I gave last time to the listeners about the individual that wanted to have better relationships with his wife and kids, one of the ways I help him identify the vital behavior, which seemed pretty easy, like, oh, hey, when you come in, you need to go left instead of right, was really identify the crucial moment. So we did that in his workflow, like, tell me what you do. And he said, well, I come home, I greet my wife and kids, I say hello, and I go into my office. And so his cue was right there before he went to his office, like the moment in time. What is the crucial moment? When he greets his wife and kids, or in essence, when he walks through the door. That's the crucial moment. And for him to enact the behavior, we ingrained or had him look for in his mind of when this moment happens, the crucial moment, back to your T chart, when, what do I do? The vital behavior. And the vital behavior is, in his case, if you remember, was walk into the kitchen.
Right.
So as we wrap this session up, I'll show you how we applied the crucial moments to the sepsis challenge. But the other tool I want to teach folks about is, now once we have the crucial moment, then you need to identify what the behavior is. So sometimes in my journey, I've got my clarified measurable result. I know I need to have a vital behavior. I've identified the moment when I need that behavior. And so again, that moment can be time, places, people. A lot of times it's emotions. When I feel like this, do that. And so how do we know what the behavior is? Well, one of the first ways to do it, and this is something very practiced a lot in the clinical space, especially I've helped people with hand washing hygiene initiatives, obviously sepsis initiatives, all kinds of different, technical and non-technical issues. And what we want to do is look at what we call the study of positive deviance. So if you've got, say, a nursing floor where a very low rate of sepsis on that nursing floor, maybe you have a very high rate at a different location. What is it that the nurses or providers or whomever are doing at that one location where the other ones aren't? When I was at my former company, we would look at time in chart, and we would want to see, what was the documentation time, and why was one or two, individuals significantly lower than the majority of the population. In that case, that would be what we call a positive deviant. What are they doing, or how are they succeeding where others are failing? And you go to see what they're doing. You're like, okay, now that I have the crucial moment and I can see what the positive deviant's doing, I need to repeat that behavior. And you can put those two together. Another tool to identify the vital behavior is what we call looking for leverage. And that is, sometimes the behavior isn't just going to be one behavior. There may be multiple behaviors out there, and you're going to want to look for the behavior in a series of potential behaviors that is, think of it as a lever. If it's levered, it's going to have the greatest impact, or like a series of dominoes. If I do this one behavior, it will lead to several other good behaviors. So for me, again, I know I'm giving you guys lots of different examples. When I first started using this tool, it was on me to take care of my physical body. And, my goal was to work out. Well, I kept saying, well, my behavior needs to be like work out or go to the gym and all this. And the reality is those are all behaviors, but they weren't the vital behavior. The vital behavior for me was actually doing two things. One, physically getting out of bed. That was the first behavior. And that sounds simple, but because I work out early in the morning, and not talking yourself into staying in bed, but one, getting out of bed. And that still doesn't never enacted like, oh, I was going to work out. But then the second thing was going to the bathroom and splashing water in my face. that behavior of getting the water in my face actually woke my body up. And I knew if I did that, I got to that point, then the rest of the behaviors in my journey of finding these behaviors would be enacted. And so those were the vital behaviors. And that's the thing you want to do is once you have your result, again, identify the vital behavior. And the tools for doing that are looking for looking for a crucial moment, and then identifying, okay, what's that vital behavior through the use of positive deviance or looking for leverage. So Constance, let's talk a little bit about your situation. I can think about lots of crucial moments and vital behaviors in your scenario, but because even though I'm a nice guy, I don't want to give you the answer guide. What would you say for using that tool for the listening folks? What would you say the crucial moment would be in loading the dishwasher?
Well, the crucial moment would be him walking into the kitchen to
Okay.
deposit his dishes, right? Or glasses, whatever.
Okay. So the crucial moment is when he walks into, because what you're saying in your challenge is it's rarely that he ever just leaves the food on the table. It's more about him sitting it in the sink versus the dishwasher.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So for those listening, Constance worked through or mapped through, what were the events, and we said again, circumstances, time, people, places, processes, or emotions can all be crucial moments. So she has identified a crucial moment of when he walks into the kitchen, and
Mhm.
I would give you an A. I would agree that is definitely a crucial moment. So
Okay,
now,
good.
when that happens, what's the vital behavior?
The vital behavior would him the act of him actually opening the dishwasher and depositing.
I'm so glad you said opening. The fact that, most people would say putting his dishes in the dishwasher. Well, that's kind of the outcome. The behavior, remember, show me, fill in the blank. We're talking about behavior.
Yes.
Show me opening the dishwasher. You got there on your own. I'm so proud of you. I was all prepped and excited, like, Constance, you're close, but not quite. The absolute vital behavior is literally, and again, that's where we sometimes so overthink this, is opening the dishwasher. And when, not if, when you get your son to open the dishwasher, I promise you the rest of this will just take care of itself. So we have to focus on getting him to open the dishwasher. Okay, well done. Let me share a little bit with you about, if you don't mind, how we did this for the sepsis challenge.
Yeah,
So
please do.
we said the leadership team had identified, hey, we want to reduce sepsis in the acute setting by 20% over the next 6 months. So we talked about their workflow. So I shared this a little bit last time. I said, what is their workflow? Well, currently we document by the bedside with workstation on wheels. Going to this new solution, we're going to have, the ability to document directly from the vital signs monitor at the bedside, and it will automatically go into the EMR. And so I said, okay, when is the crucial moment? And I asked their leadership, and I asked the actual nurses that were doing the work. They were all participating. And what do you think they came up with for the crucial moment?
Uh, well, take me back again. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. They're a nurse, and they're basically taking vital signs at the
Right.
bedside. And in their old world, they would take the vital signs and they would then either write them on a piece of paper or manually enter them in the workstation on wheels, if you will, next to the bedside. But they had a significant challenge with multiple logons. And so their ingrained behavior was to just document on paper and walk back to the nursing station where they could enter multiple vital signs for the, 3 to 4 patients they were taking care of all at once. And with a new solution, they're able to scan using the vital signs monitor and then do a couple of steps with that monitor to get the result instantaneously into the EMR versus waiting. And we all know with sepsis, if you wait, what happens?
The patient goes south.
They could go south. There's truly like a golden time frame.
Yeah.
Usually within, I believe, it's been a while since I've actually been involved with this, but I believe it's within like the first hour, like 1 to 3 hours or 1 to 6 hours. I have to have to go back and look that up to give the audience an accurate number, 100%, but it's a very
Mhm.
short period of time, relatively speaking. So time is working against them. So the fact that they didn't want nurses waiting to get back to the nursing station, which sometimes could be an hour or two later, depending upon if they got sidetracked, somebody else asked them to go do something, et cetera. And that data getting into the EMR, they wanted it at the moment that it was actually taken. So my question to you is, what do you think we identified as the crucial moment?
Well, I mean, a ton of things are going through my mind right now. So I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, well, wait. So if it's not automatically going in through a bedside device interface, then we're relying on them to be logged into the EMR so that they can document what's actually happening real time. So that's why I'm getting stuck because I'm expecting the system to automatically bring these things in for them to accept it, versus having them to document it manually. This is what happens when you talk to informatics nurses. That's the
I
stuff you
I
think
know.
about.
I know. But see, that's the beauty because you're learning these tools real time, and yet, uh, and again, I know it's at your expense, but you're getting hung up and you're going down the thought process that happens to everyone and so many folks.
Yeah,
And what we did, and the same thought process happened with their leadership. And what we simply identified is the crucial moment is when you take the vitals, right? When you take the vitals, because regardless of the EMR, you're going to put the cuff on and you're going to take the vital of the patient.
that's true.
So that's the crucial moment. When you put that cuff on, then we want you automatically in your mind going to, this is the when, what do I need to do? So in this case, the what was, here's the behavior, scan the badge, your badge, scan the patient badge, and hit the send button. There were three vital behaviors. But if we didn't get them to do scan their badge, scan the patient badge, and hit the send button, they would just use the cuff like a normal cuff and still write their behavior at that moment in time would be to write down and transcribe on paper.
I
And,
see.
and it's that moment in time where we need to make them shift from writing it down on paper to using the EMR. And simply telling them to do that wasn't going to change their behavior. We needed them to think about that moment and use it as a trigger. And so we did. And that was our crucial moment. And then our vital behaviors were, again, I'll say, scan the badge, scan. So when I say scan it, scan your badge, scan the wristband, and hit the send button. And then the vitals were in the EMR in 60 seconds or less, which was the outcome. Wasn't the clarified measure result, but it was the outcome that the leadership wanted, meaning they wanted the vitals to go right away into in the EMR. And that was so critical because the algorithm that ran on Cerner's EMR was looked for a vital sign as a trigger. And so the sepsis algorithm couldn't alert that there was a septic situation if the vital wasn't in. So that's why it was so important at that moment in time to get it in. All right. Um, Before I turn it back over to you, I just have one final question. Back to your influencer challenge. Are there any other vital? I know you're missing. Are there any other vital behaviors uh, other than open the dishwasher that you think we need to add to this challenge?
Oh, that's a tough one. Well, I wouldn't think so. I mean, it's a pretty simple, but you're making me overthink this now because
I
I get
am.
it wrong every time.
No,
But I
no,
don't think so.
you're right. I just wanted to draw the contrast for the listeners because I said that I had three, and a lot of times, especially for those listening from an audio perspective, remember we said it's one to three or a few, and it's totally fine in your case just to have one vital behavior, which, in my opinion, that is the only vital behavior. Uh, but sometimes there's more. So I'll turn it back over to you. But in closing, remember, once you have your clarified measurable result, you want to enact the vital behavior. In order to do that, we use a crucial moment to find out what is the when, and then we enact the vital behavior, which is the what, to get that done. So with that, I'll turn it back over and see if you have any other questions or thoughts to wrap us up.
Oh, gosh. Well, Bruce, you always make me think, no matter what. And this is just so helpful. And I think, what I'm doing is what pretty much everybody's going to be doing. They're going to be overthinking this. But what's helping me right now is the example that you just talked about with the vital behavior of actually scanning the badge, scanning the wristband, and then hitting send so that the information comes in. Because I'm going to think of that now every time I think of a behavior, because it's not the end result that I'm trying to think about, which is seeing the vitals in the EMR. I need to break it down further and say what gets it there. Just like I want my son to get up from the table, walk into the kitchen, open the dishwasher, and put his dishes in there. So, maybe the other behavior now that I think about is not only open the dishwasher, but take the dishes and put them in where they belong. So, maybe that is the second one. But anyway, I'm always going to be thinking of that now. So I appreciate the nursing reference, because
Sure.
hopefully that'll help other people to remember vital behaviors as well. So, gosh, next time we will be talking about, what are we talking about next time?
Diagnosing.
Diagnose. So we still have plenty to talk about, and what we're going to go through to talk through all of those sources of influence as well. So next time we'll talk about diagnosing what's actually happening with us in this whole influencer model, and how we're influencing behavior. So thank you so much, Bruce. This is enlightening, and you're making us all think. So we we really do appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope you'll join us again for another session of Informatically Speaking.
This has been a production of the Greater Delaware Valley chapter of the American Nursing Informatics Association. For more information about the GDV-ANIA chapter, visit us at community.ania.org/Greater Delaware Valley/home.